Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to use this image that you'll find in your resources and how to make it look something like this, which with using the clipping mask and making this text look like it's light shining on, making a reflection. It's quite tricky to do, so I've also included a guide as well, which you can print off or you can just download onto your computer, and that'll help keep you right with some of the steps, because if you make one mistake you can set you right back as well. So it can be quite tricky, this, so that's why I've included the guide sheet. So the first thing you need to do is open this image into Photoshop, and then you can see it here in my layers palette. If you can't see your layers, if you go to the window here and make sure you've got layers clicked. Now if you click on the background layer, and then if you drag it down to where that little plus icon is and then just leave go, it'll make a background copy. Another way to make a background copy is if you right click here and go duplicate layer, and then you click on that, and then you'll make a background copy as well. So I've got the background and I've got the background copy. I'm going to turn the background copy off by clicking on this little eye, so you need to do that too, otherwise you won't be able to see the text when we start to write the text. So to write the text you need to click on the text icon, horizontal type tool, click on that, and then just click somewhere in the image, and when you click there the text palette will open up at the side here. So make sure you've got your colour on white, and you can do that by clicking on the colour and going to the top corner there, and then I've got it set at 20 points for the size. I've chosen Gilt Sans Ultra Bold, but you can choose any font you want by clicking on there and just going down and choosing one. So I've got my font chosen, I've got my colour chosen, I've got it on 20 points, I've clicked in the space, and I'm just got it on caps lock, and I'm just going to type light. And what I'm going to do now is click in the layer, the text layer, and it shows you the word I've typed. So now I'm just going to make sure that it's still highlighted, and I'm going to go Control T, and that's going to help me to move the text around. So I'm just going to drag it over here, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger like this, and I'm just going to plop it down somewhere where I want it. I can make it a little bit smaller, and if I just put it around here like that, maybe it's a bit further over like that. When you're happy with the position of it, if you just click return, and then what I want you to do is go back into that layer, right click and go rasterize type. Now that it's rasterized, I want you to make a copy of it, so you can either drag it down into this little square and leave go, or you can right click and then duplicate layer to get your copy. So your palette should look like mine: background copy, light, background. So what I'm going to do now is go back to the original light background, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control T again, Control T, and this time I'm going to right click and go to flip vertical, not horizontal but flip vertical. So click on flip vertical, and then put your cursor in the center and just drag it down, and you can just choose how far away you want from the text above. You can use the little arrow keys to go up or down. So I think I'll leave it about there, and then what I want to do is go into right click again, but this time go into perspective, and then you can drag this out a bit more like that, and then right click and go into free transform this time, but hold down the Control key, and then you can move the text. You can either have it long like this or short, you can have it really short like that. What I'm going to do is just try and follow the reflection that's in the water, like the same angle like of this lighthouse. Try and follow the reflection of that. So I'm quite happy with where that is now, so I'm just going to hit return, and then that'll set that in place. The thing we need to do now is go to the background layer at the bottom here. Make sure the background copy is switched off. Go to the background layer, and then go to this little black and white circle here. We're going to the adjustment layers. The first thing we're going to do is go onto the hue saturation, and we're going to drop down the saturation of that layer so most of the colour is removed. And then we're going to go back into that hue saturation. This time we're going to go onto exposure, and we're going to drop down the exposure of that layer. So I'm making it quite dark so that the light shines. And then once you've done that, what I'd like you to do is go onto the reflection layer. Is that the reflection layer? Yes. So we turn the reflection layer off because we don't need that at the moment. Then turn your background copy on. Now we can't see any text at the moment, but that's fine. Highlight your background copy so it's a different colour grade to the rest of it. And then go up to layer at the top here, click on layer, and then go down till you come to create clip and mask, and then click on that. And now we've got our clip and mask here. Now to get that text brighter, we need to create a sort of a glow with that text. So make sure you go back to where the text is, that's lit up with the eyeball, and then we'll go on to this FX. Click on FX and then go on to stroke. Drop this down a bit so you can see what you're doing. So make sure the stroke is highlighted, and I've got this at 2 pixels. I might even change it to 1 pixel. So this is like the border around the text here. Make sure it's clicked to outside and have this set to normal, and have the colour as white. Make sure it's in the top left hand corner here, the little nozzle there. Click OK, and then go down to outer glow. So this is the glow shining out. Make sure when you hit outer glow that you highlight the whole bar. Make sure it's highlighted. And so for the outer glow, we need it on overlay. We need the opacity set to 100%. And we need the size set to 250 pixels. So when you've done that, make sure everything else is set right, like soft is on. You can change the spread by doing that. So I'm just going to leave that spread set to 0. And then I'm going to go on to inner glow. So we can change the inner glow as well. We can drop that down a bit if we want to. Make it brighter. We can drop the size down if we want to. But I'm going to leave it on, I'll leave it on 250, and I'll leave the opacity on 100% because I want this light to be bright. And make sure this is set to overlay, and make sure your colour is white. So when you've done that, click OK. So you can see now our text is now quite bright. So what we need to do now is we need to create the reflection. So now if you switch back on your reflection, we need to change this reflection now. So a way to do that is to make sure it's highlighted, and then if you go to where it says normal and then drop that to overlay, and then it makes it transparent. And then we can blur that a bit by going into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then we can choose how many pixels we want to blur it by sliding this slider along. So you choose how blurred you want the reflection. I'll say about 4 pixels. Okay. And then to make that reflection even brighter, you can duplicate that layer as well by going down to the little plus sign, and that will make your reflection brighter. So we've duplicated that, but but you might want to, it looks a bit too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit, undo duplicate layer, and I'm just going to leave it like that. So I think I might drop down the darkness a bit more because it's still a bit bright. So I'm going back to background, back to exposure, and then I'm just going to drop that exposure down a bit more, just so that light really pops like that. So there you are, and that's the finished product. So that is using the clipping mask and making the text and having a reflection and making it pop in your image. So I hope you've learned something from this. Until the next video, bye for now.